Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful Scrutinizing Sunday. You can see today that I have a slightly different studio setup, and that is because it's exciting to change things for no reason. But honestly, I think you guys needed to see the whole thing on the wall. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just like move some stuff around. Let's see what's going on. I got a chair I'm going to start using for my standing desk. And so I just like was rethinking the desk that was in here. And so here we are. And today I've got an old fashioned thing where you write down like stuff on paper. And because honestly, what's happening because of how I redid this is the laptop is too far away from my old eyeballs to read what's on the screen. Unless it's comments, then I can probably read it. But like my own notes and stuff wouldn't have worked. So now it's on paper. That's right. I don't really wing it. Well, I kind of wing it, but I like need to know what I'm sort of going to talk about. Anyways, so that's what we're going on. You might see that I have a lovely guest with me today. That's right. Welcome, Mr. Wyatt, to the Scrutinizing Sunday. I got Mr. Pumpkin with me here. He's the he's been the construction kitty for his whole life. He started climbing towers with me, and then he started building stuff with me. And he's been around the whole time. So figured might as well have him come on the podcast. He kind of let himself in here and decided this is where he wanted to hang out while I was talking. So this is what we're going to do. It looks like my camera. No, my camera's not frozen. It's just holding still. My Instagram live is doing something funny though. All right. Looks like it's fixed. Okay. So, guys, hello. My name is Sam Stevenson. I am a framing nerd, structural engineer, architectural designer guy, and I'm going to be explaining to you guys on this show how I'm going to be building the best design firm for architectural plans. That's my goal. So, let's get started right into it here. So, some lessons I've learned over the past week. Let's see here. So, being in the field that I have been in and experiencing the level of workload up and down and working hard and this, that, and the other, trying to start a business, like that all takes a whole lot of extra work that not of like most normal people don't like work that much. At least they used to. Nowadays, you have to in order to survive and buy bread. But yeah, it was seemed like a lot of work. And so I had been bouncing back and forth, and obviously, like when there's no money in the bank account and you're like scraping by, you're very motivated, like naturally, like you're just good. But once you start achieving a level of success, all of a sudden it's like the distance between where you're at and where you want to be is now closer because now you're just like less stressed. Like you're not like, oh my God, where's my rent coming from this next month, right? You're like, oh well, I've got it in the bank. Like I've worked and succeeded enough that the stress part's gone. So now you have to find the motivation somewhere else. So I've been thinking a lot about that and how that applies. And you guys can think about this for sure in your own lives. Ultimately, what I wanted to talk about here was that life is about deciding what you want to do and then doing it. The trick is that most of the time, we don't have all the information that we would like to have to make a fully educated decision because life is long and there's tons of stuff to know that we don't know. We're all immature or mature in our own ways. And so we have to make decisions with what we got and then move forward from there. So, how do you know what you want? That's something that I've been mulling over. It's like, all right, well, do I want to be the kind of person who runs and grows a business and just like grows and grows and grows and grows and grows like for the sake of it? Just because like I'm married to the game, right? As Hormozy would say. Is that the kind of person I want to be? Or is the kind of person I want to be someone who's like, you know what, I'm happy to get above upper class and I can stop there. Like I don't need the Lamborghini. I'm happy to just go have a reasonable house in a reasonable place with a reasonable car. Like I don't need the extras. That's all stuff that we ought to think through as we work hard through our situations. But an not easy, potentially relevant thing you could do is take a look back at the decisions you consistently make and look at what your actions are that you consistently take. That rhymed. And now I'm going to go bake a cake. Just kidding. uh, So look at what you've been doing and extrapolate out like, what is it that I keep acting consistently towards? That's probably something that I want subconsciously. And in my case, it's been business. I've continuously like, guys, the first business I tried to start, I was in like sixth grade and I was really into skateboarding at the time. And so I started a board building business for my friends. And like I would grip tape them. I'd put special stickers or patterns into the grip tape, and I just do these cool stuff. And at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, "Yeah, I'll build your board and grip tape it for $5." I'm like, we're all poor. We're all kids at that point, right? They don't. No one's got money, but like I made some money doing it, and no, I didn't report it on my taxes either, and I'm okay with that. So the point is like think back about your life. What are you consistently doing? Where are you consistently putting your energy? What values are important to you? Where do you find yourself getting excited? Uh, Ask yourself those kinds of questions. And hopefully that's going to lead you towards like a general direction. For myself lately, it's been a lot of like, wow, like I could work more hours of the week. And I worked more this week than I did the week before, thanks to the wonderful encouragement from Mr. Wyatt MG here in the chat. Laughed too hard at that. Yeah, that was totally unintentional, the rhyming thing. Um, that's too good. So, yeah, look at your own actions, figure out like what is your own motivation source and all that stuff, and then decide what you want to do. And a big thing that people fail to do is they either like want something, but they're afraid of what other people are going to say if they want it. Like if I wanted to be a stripper, I would just go do it. Like I don't care what my family's gonna say. I don't care what my friends are gonna say. Like it's just a thing. I'm gonna go do it if that's what I want to do. Now I don't happen to want to do that, therefore I won't. However, I'm going to try to figure out what my goals are. And the important part of this is you need to live in your own frame. You need to live life for yourself first, because that is going to allow you to produce the most and get the most out of life, which is going to give you the best opportunity to, should you decide to, then help other people. If you spend your whole life and all of your time, uh, giving your time away, which is, is fine. If that's what you want, do that, right? But let's say, like, for example, if I didn't have a job or I like worked at Walmart or something and I could make a very small amount of money, I'd have to trade a lot of time for money. And then in my free time, if I wanted to like go around the city and pick up trash off the streets, I could do that. I would then like be making my city a better place to live in, or this, that, and the other. I happen to want to get more leverage for my time than that. And I would like to, let's say, instead of doing that route, maybe I learn about, let's say my love of life was that I don't like seeing trash on the streets. Okay. That's something very important to me. I could study waste management. I could study trash. I could study the business of that. I could study all kinds of stuff and then work really hard at a job, try to get more money per hour, and then take all that energy that I'm able to create and then go solve the trash problem, not just in my city, but let's say in the five closest cities to me. So that seems like a better thing to me because now I'm just helping more people. Now, I'm still only helping myself, right? Because I like ultimately I'm selfish and I want to feel good about the fact that I'm picking up the trash and like I want to live in the cleaner city. And I want people to, let's say, if they knew I was doing it, I want people to be more social with me and like me more because now I'm the cool guy that goes and picks up trash. Like there's all kinds of reasons that we do this for ourselves, but we won't get too heavy into that. But the point of that was, oh yeah, deciding what you wanted and going after it despite what other people say, because very likely your friends and family that you're around right now are largely locational based and less so like ambition based or industry based or whatever, right? Like there's, depending on where, like if I wanted to become a male stripper right now, very few people that I have in my, oh, that's not true. Some or most of the friends that I have, because I've picked the kinds of friends that would support me no matter what I do, they would support me. But like the city I live in happens to be very non-conducive for stripping. This is a Bible Belt, raised families, nice and good and healthy kind of thing. And it's like there are no strip clubs where I live. That's just the brand and the kind of community that has been built here, and that's fine. That's not why I live here. I just happen to live here. So yeah, so like if I wanted to strip, I would need to understand that um, I should go seek out the best strippers. Apply this to your own industry in whatever way you like. But um, so we're all missing pieces of information. So how to decide what we want would involve trying to get as much information as possible. And frequently, normies, as you would call them, people who just like do the 9 to 5, they go pay their taxes, they live in a house with a fat mortgage, and they basically live mostly paycheck to paycheck. They maybe have a 401k, and like they're going to be working until they're 90 and they die. Those are normies. And the I don't want to be a normie. Like if you do want to be a normie, that's great. Where was I going? Oh, but since normie is literally the normal, right? That's normal lifestyle of people. You have to seek out something else if you want to know what that even means, right? As an example, I did not know what it was like to socialize and be around extremely wealthy people until I put myself in the positions where they would be. And like what we're going to bring up here is like, that's not necessarily important. What is important is not being afraid to get more information. All right. Most people don't want to risk learning more information because that would imply, or they might become aware that they are lacking, or they might become aware that they actually want something different. Like lots of people see the guy with the Lamborghini and they're like, oh, I would never want a Lamborghini. That's too much. Like they would never consider going and hanging out with guy with the Lamborghini. What's up, Agent J? We got Agent J on Instagram. I got both chats up today. Welcome, sir. So most people would not consider going and talking to the guy with the Lamborghini. Be like, bro, what do you do? What do you like? Maybe he like gives tons of money to charity. Like you have no idea. But the reality is that you're probably not willing to put yourself in that position because you're going to actually realize that he just worked really hard. And you probably are not willing to work as hard as him. Therefore, it feels bad to compare yourself, which you're going to do most likely. So I would say like if you're not sure what you want and you're in that part of your life and you don't know if you would want a Lamborghini or not, well, go like meet some people that have one. Like go hang out, go smoke cigars with the guy that's got a McLaren, right? Go see the McLaren. Go watch him like sit in the McLaren. Like figure out, is this kind of person the kind of person I want to be like, you know? And then you can decide. But before you're just like, don't just not get the information. Because you can only make a truly informed decision once you're on the inside of something. You're not going to go buy a house without looking at the inside of the house first. So don't presume that you don't want to be a porn star without trying it. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. We got a comment from Agent J over here on the Instagram side. He says, that's called a virtue signal for sure. I would never want a Lamborghini. We'll see. We'll see if you don't get a Lamborghini, Agent J, when your crypto bag's pumped to the moon. I will. If you do, I'd love to go hang out with you and let's go for a ride. Maybe I'll have one too, and we'll go for a ride together. We'll see. Switching to YouTube because IG sucks. Yeah, IG's not the best, but like, hey, come on over to the YouTube. Awesome. Okay, so we got a chat from right here. Rich people love to talk. Amazing people will tell you about their business with a few drinks and a conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Wyatt. People who have gotten to that point in their life, they've worked very hard. And yes, you're absolutely correct. Get people to talk because people love to talk about themselves. Conversation hack. if you suck at conversation, just like don't speak and only ask questions and just like boom, there goes the conversation. It's great. Agent J, welcome Agent J to the YouTube channel. Good to have you, sir. All right. That's a little bit easier for me to read the black on white text than the white on black on my Instagram. Okay. So yeah, people generally don't want to risk hanging around rich people because they're like, oh, I might compare myself, and then they'll feel bad. So that's sort of parallel to the idea of like always being willing to calibrate yourself, always be willing to accept the feel bad. If you are getting to a point, like if it's been a month and you haven't felt that like gut wrenching, oh my gosh, someone just totally calibrated me. And I'm like, I was doing something incorrect, either socially or business wise, or I made a mistake or something. If you don't feel that gut wrench and then are able to like, oh, that sucks. But then like you move forward and you're like, oh, okay, I made a mistake. Let's do this and let's get better. If you go a long time without feeling that, it's probably not because you have totally calibrated yourself flawlessly. It's probably because you're not around the people that are calibrating you, or you are you have closed-minded yourself and someone tried to calibrate you and you disregarded it or something like that. But like, man, that's a that's a big thing. Like if you're find yourself missing out on that feeling, then just like check yourself. See what you're around. From Agent J here. Good advice. If I ignore the self collab, forgive my eyeballs here. If I ignore the self calibration, there it is, not collaboration. If I ignore the self calibration, you tend to fall into the same trap hole. Yes, exactly. Hopefully, I read that correctly. It's easier to read that way. I shouldn't have clicked on it. There we go. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Agent J. You are totally correct, sir. All right. So basically, get as much information as you can as soon as possible. And here is a hack for you guys. And it's not really a hack because it requires effort or money. And that is buying other people's experiences and information. That is a huge advantage. The people who have made the most in life didn't have more hours in the day. They decided to take money they had and buy a chunk of somebody else's life experience and consume it and then act on it. Like, suspend your disbelief for a second and believe it as if it was true and then like figure out if it was, right? Those are the people that move the fastest, the ones that are just like, oh, got it, going. So go for that. On the subject of like work, it's important to continue being focused. I have made more progress in 3 months on this business than I have over the past year trying to do the business because I'm not hanging out in Washington trying to build something. I'm not like my social media, like Instagram production and YouTube production, like dropped off a cliff because like I'll do these lives on YouTube now, but I'm not producing content because I'm not trying to get leads and get work from the internet right now. I'm doing outbound only. So that's why that stopped. And because I've been so focused, I've been able to do a really high efficient input and get like a significant output that's allowing me like, okay, I'm succeeding. Let's do more of the succeeding thing. And then let's figure out what to do after that. But stay focused on something you're doing. I watched a video from Hormozy. And one of the things he talked about was opportunities and problems. If you have a problem, you should fix the problem. This is generally referring to business. And then if you have an opportunity, you could consider the opportunity, but you probably shouldn't do it. And you definitely shouldn't take all opportunities. The general summary of that was that opportunities equate to high risk, potential high reward, and problems are low risk, and then also potential high reward. All right. But the difference is that problems suck and they feel bad, and we don't want to work on them because they're boring. Opportunities are exciting and fun. Like literally just like the word opportunity, right? Those are exciting. It's like, I could go travel to Zimbabwe and learn how they draw houses in Zimbabwe. Like if I met a guy that was in there and was like, hey, yeah, come on over. I'll pay for your flight. It's like, I could go do that. But that would be an opportunity. And the trick is that inside opportunities are huge potential for future growth. But that is a risk you are taking. It's not a guaranteed, oh, I am making something better. If I fix a problem in my business and I can now work faster, that means all of the work that I do in the business going forward is better and faster. So that's a guaranteed thing. The opportunity thing, like, and that's a slow burner result, right? If my product gets better, if all of those things improve, then like I'm going to retain more people and I'm like going to have a sharper growth curve later on. But that's what I'm dealing with. So yeah, stay focused on something that's important to you. And if there are multiple things that are important to you, like again, this goes back to if that's what you want, then do it. Don't worry about the fact that like some guy named Hormozy said, no, stay focused on one thing. If you want the highest leverage out of one thing, focus on one thing. I split my efforts in my life between multiple things. I do not focus only on one thing. I do not focus only on business. Partially because that's not all I want out of life. And I also know that I see what people look like when all that they do is focus on business. And I want to be a little bit more well-rounded than that. And that's what I want. So, um, like my money making and my wealth strategy is going to be split between my business and crypto. Uh, Mostly like I would focus fully on crypto, but the problem with that is that that's outside my control. Like it's a lever arm that I don't have a direct way to like influence the outcome. The business is like, oh, I control what's happening here. I can, within an economic context, I can generally control what happens with my money. So that's like, those are my two, they're just different like risk levels. So that's what I focus on. So you ought to think of the things that you are focusing on. Yeah, remember that I remember that everybody is selfish and that's okay. Um, this is related to the first point about life and if you haven't read Atlas Shrugged or any books by Ayn Rand, I 10 out of 10 recommend it. They are great stories and they share really really wise thoughts. I would call myself a Randian. The whole premise of the book is that if people operate in a free market and like always act out of their own self-interest, it creates a beautiful world, basically. Because there's no like craziness going on. It's just like I could have a friend and want to buy my friend dinner because I like my friend. They get to benefit from us both having a fun dinner together and having a good chat. And then I get like I'm paying the money right now, but I'm also getting a social debt incurred with my friend, and now we have a tighter relationship because of the social debt. Read the book Debt. That's a good one. I believe it's coming up on the DGen Roundtable Book Club. That's a solid book to read if you want to understand like money and social dynamic and how they're related. So that's a good thing to do. But yeah, everybody's selfish. Oh yeah. Okay. So on the subject of like a little more technical business, how to avoid making the same mistake twice. Systematize something so that you can't forget and make the same mistake twice. That's the short answer. Done. The long answer that I won't go into in much detail is, let's say for my business, I like send review sets of plans over and over. And as I do that, people make changes. So I got to go in, change a bunch of stuff, make sure everything's corrected all the way through the plan, and then send it again. And in this case, I like corrected all of the technical stuff on the information, but like basically one of the pretty pictures that goes through, it's a rendering in the set that like people don't actually care about, that's not actually built with. I forgot to change something in the drawing that made the rendering look wrong, but like all of the technical parts of the document were still correct. So it would have been built correctly, but it just looked funny. And someone saw it and was like, oh, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, calibration moment. That's a thing that I made a mistake with. What do I do? Well, I have a checklist for everything I do in my business. Checklist discipline, great thing, right? So I don't let anything that's a mistake. I try not to let anything that's a mistake happen twice. And so how do I do that? Well, I put like a thing in a checklist somewhere that says, "Hey, make sure this happened," because in this case you forgot, and like I don't like forgetting. I would like to run a business that's like 99.99%, correct. So that's what I would like. We got a comment here from Asian J. What does it say? If I do this, I can read it better. Hey, I figured out how to read it a lot easier. Not all opportunities present good ROI either, but solving immediate problems provide immediate ROI. Exactly. Mr. Agent J is a wise businessman for sure. That is correct. That is related to the we got another comment. Let's do that. Tate had an interesting take on this. If he makes the same mistake twice, he imposes severe punishment on himself as a reminder to never make them again. Yes, I happen to admire many of the psychological tools that Tate employs to guide himself in life. That's really good news. Thank you for sharing that, Jay. That is I think we all have something to learn from a man like Andrew, Mr. Tate. That's too good. Okay. So, yeah. How to avoid making the same mistake twice. I mean, yeah, you could like cut off your left pinky. That would be a thing that would probably inspire you to not make the same mistake twice. You'd certainly remember it all the time. Uh, you know, obviously make the punishment appropriate. But okay, let's talk about this. Every character trait in life is trainable / learnable. I was talking the previous week about how I seem to be approaching a limit where it's like, oh, I got to like 50 hours. At 50 hours, I'm like, like I don't want to get in my computer. Like I don't want to work more. And that was for various reasons. I think I've had a little bit of a different experience this last week for two reasons. So one, the work was easier this week, and part of it was because like there was just so much billable work. There was so much like, hey, I want a thing and I'll give you money for it. Like this was I'm at the turning point, I think, right? And it could just be a busy month. Like it could, go back down because like everything's volatile with when you're this small, it's like, oh, I could make $0 next month, maybe. But it was a lot easier to be like, okay, this project, I'm going to spend 6 hours in this thing till it's done. Boom, check done. All right, now go like take a drink of water. And then next thing, boom, get into the next thing. And it was just like I was knocking it out. And then here's the funny part, right? The psychologically rewarding part of all of this was that every time I would accomplish something, I would invoice and I'd get money. And it's like, oh, hey, I get paid to do this. Believe it or not. That's novel. I like that idea. I'm going to keep doing this. So that, like, funnily enough, made it easier to work more hours. So that was kind of funny. But on the subject of spooked Mr. Pumpkin there. Sorry, bud. Back to the subject of let's say that I was still struggling with the motivation, right? Hormozy would say something along the lines of, I just lack the skill of knowing how to work 60 hours a week. It's not that I, as a person, as a human being, I just like, oh, like that's a personal limit of mine. Like I just can't do it. Right. Like that's bullshit. I just don't know the tools to use to put myself in the frame of mind where I need to do the extra hours. And I can learn tools. I can learn skills. So that's a great way, by the way, in life. Don't ever close yourself out of an opportunity because you make it some kind of like personal thing. It's like everything in life is learnable. Like you just like are willing to put in the time or not. And it's okay if you're not. Just understand that like, oh, that's something that's going to require this level of time to get good at. Therefore, I would rather get better at this thing. So I'm going to put my time over here instead. As an example, right? I like skateboarding, but I like rollerblading more and I'm better at it. And so I also like generally wear more protective gear when I'm doing that. So like I'm also a little bit safer. And so I would rather not skateboard and do more rollerblading and be like, okay, like I can only get really good at very few things in life, right? And of the small portion of time that I'm going to take out of my week to go do that thing, I want it to be directed towards this thing because I want to get good at that. So, and the other little hack thing that I'm doing that's like helping train my brain is with the piano. Like you may guys see, like I throw piano songs and stuff on Instagram. And whenever I throw a pop song on Instagram, what you guys should know is that instead of practicing the one song that I'm trying to learn over this whole year, it's the Interstellar theme. And it's like, I don't know, 10 minutes long. It's really long. Um, and I'm only a third of the way through the thing. Every time I post that on Instagram, you ought to know that, like, oh, Sam wasn't practicing the song that he should have been practicing, right? Because it's like, oh, like you get to a point with everything that it's no longer fun. And if you want to be better and you really want to accomplish it, you just have to put in the hours and you just have to keep doing the thing. And so I use the piano as a training mechanism for my work brain. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on the next 8 bars of this song. I'm going to learn that on my left hand. I'm going to just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it till it becomes muscle memory, right? And I'm going to do that even though it's not fun, because I know later when I know the whole song, it's going to be super fun because I'll just know the whole song. But I have to invest the time. I have to get past the part where I don't really want to do it anymore. And I'm gonna exercise that muscle in my brain, even though it's not a muscle in my brain. So that seems to be somewhat effective. I don't know. I've got a friend who I talked to recently about neuroscience and stuff like that, and she described that pretty much everything in your brain is related to everything else in your brain. And so if you're doing certain things with your brain, it's probably impacting other parts of your brain. And so it sort of seems reasonable that if I fix this thing with my discipline skill, then I'll fix something else with my discipline skill. That's all I'm thinking about that. So that's my knowledge lesson imparting learning stuff. What do we got here? Let's open this up. Full screen this sucker. I can read it. From Agent J. That momentum you build from each successful project can really give you some great tailwind. Congrats, brother. Oh, thank you, Agent J. You're probably right. That's probably the thing. That is probably what I am noticing, or it's like I'm getting the wins in. It might be different if I did a bunch of work and never finished anything and couldn't invoice. But like each time I got a chunk of money, it's like, oh, brain reward. Hey, you get a reward. Congratulations. Here's a piece of candy. And we don't eat candy, guys, because that's got high fructose corn syrup and nothing good for you. All right. Just kidding. If you want a piece of candy, it's not going to kill you. All right. Next week, I think I'm getting to a point where I stepped out, took some time. I had to make the website, some stuff like that. And I think I'm refocusing. I'm getting, that is the vibe that I'm feeling. Merch. On where I'm going over this next week. It's just it's really simple. Like I draw plans, I'll make money, and then I'll tell more people about myself. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to keep doing that. And as a function of that, I'm going to try to inject a little bit more value into my website as a way to get more value out of the telling people about myself thing. We shall see. In the meantime, there's always I'm spending a chunk of time every morning as part of the solving the not enough people know about me thing, working on my sales skills. The closer framework happens to be the thing that I study the most from Hormozy. Like how to get through a sales conversation. Are you even in a sales conversation? Once you've set a price, how do you close? How do you help someone decide? How do you break their own beliefs about themselves that are incorrect so they know if they should buy or not? All that stuff, just a good old fashioned how to manipulate people to give you money. Yeah. All right. That's all I got. That's what's on my notes. Thank you guys for coming on and learning and hanging out with me and Mr. Pumpkin. It looks like he's ready to get up and go play. Is that right, buddy? Hopefully. He spends most of his time outside, and then when he comes inside, he's ready to sleep. And that's what a good male cat should be doing. Thanks, guys. That's all I have. Let's see. Shout out to Mr. Wyatt and Agent J for chatting it up, having a good time here. I'll see you guys next week, and I'll give you the update at that time, and we'll talk about more stuff that we learn. Because if we're not learning, then we're not growing. Let's take it out.
That's the code.